What is up, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Tuesday, June 17th, and we got a 12-game slate on our hands. It's a big one, Steve, with some weather, some, I think, pretty good pitching, cheap and expensive, and then, of course, plenty of offenses to go to as well. So one of those slates for me, digging into it, where you turn over one rock and there's two more underneath it to kind of dig into. So it's hard to get to everything when you do like to dig into each game on such a big slate. But long day of research. Feel prepared for this one, and hopefully a good one for RPS and crew. Steve, how you doing on this Tuesday afternoon?
Good. We were just chatting. I was on a golf trip with some buddies over the weekend. Got back last night. Had a great time. I did the playbook today. Kind of agree with you. It's one of those big slates where, there are some Tuesdays where we have 12 games, but we're only interested in plays from 6 or 7 of them. I think this is a slate where you can go a lot of different directions. There's good pitching, like you said, at different price points. And there are just a lot of spots that I think you could make a really good argument for bats kind of across the board. It's summer's here. It's warming up. It's finally hot here in Chicago, 88 right now. I'm sure we'll talk later in the week. It's supposed to be 100 here all weekend when the Cubs are home. So that'll be fun. But high team totals pretty much across the board, except for in a couple spots. And some interesting decisions to be made at pitcher, right? Because like you said, we got strong options, both in the cheap and the expensive tier.
Yeah, 100%. Really, really good slate. We'll go by game and just kind of obviously break it all down as we go. We got 12 of them to talk about, so let's jump right into an important first game of the slate. Yankees and the Los Angeles Angels here. You're going to see one of the most popular, if not the most popular pitcher on the slate, Will Warren, who I think, Steve, is just too cheap on DraftKings at 7.5K. He's been, the surface numbers don't look that great for him, but he has been improving. And, just that one Dodgers start where he gave up 7 earned runs in one inning kind of tank his season-long numbers. But, man, if you look a little bit under the hood with Will Warren, especially against right-handed hitters, he has been lights out. It's like a 33% strikeout rate, a 5% walk rate. And this Angels team has just 2 lefties, light hitting Shanuel and Rengifo, right? So I think this looks like a near perfect spot, honestly, for Will Warren. Maybe concerns on the duration. They do kind of pull him early on the pitch count from time to time, including the last couple starts. But I still think at that price point, well worth the play. And in Kyle Hendricks, no interest there, obviously. The choice would be what to do with the Yankees bats, who it's hard not to like some of these Yankees power bats against the 85-mile-per-hour fastballs that Hendricks throws up there. So got to be, I think, in on the Yankees to some extent. Steve, what are you doing here? Yankees and Angels.
Yeah, Warren's a guy that I think both of us have been higher than market on pretty much throughout. His stats are a bit hurt. Well, they're hurt a good bit by that one awful start in LA, skews things a bit. And someone in chat mentioned this. He's had 2 starts shortened due to weather as well. So I think without those 3, I think we see him, 8K, 8,500 here. I think he's by far the best play on the slate in the cheap range, at least. I'll most likely have him in single entry stuff. I think he's super strong, like you said, with the matchup here against such a right-handed heavy Angels lineup. They do have power and they can't hurt you, but second highest strikeout rate in the split. Warren just throws a ton of sliders. I could see him throwing like 50% sliders in this game.
He's got that big slider. He's got a really good curveball too. So he's got the 2 breaking pitches. I think he's going to get ahead of these hitters, and they're going to do chasing stuff all game. I see like significant strikeout upside, even beyond what the props say for Warren.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot for like an alt K total here for Warren. I think he's an awesome play. I think you can make an argument that he's the best price adjusted play on the slate. Mm-hmm. I think ownership will reflect that certainly, but I still see under 40% right now. I think he's a pretty easy play in this spot. You take the risk against the power bats of the Angels just because the strikeout upside is so high at that price tag. captain's got a huge projection on him, third highest on the entire slate. So I'm going to lean into that. I love Warren here. And then, the bats I think are super interesting. Second highest team total on the slate, I believe, behind the Dodgers, who we'll get to later. There's so many good hitting spots on the slate. I think it's an awesome game to start with here. They got Giancarlo Stanton back yesterday. That just lengthens out this lineup. So, like Terry said, they've been cold the last 5 games. I'm not really that concerned about such a small sample with the talent in this lineup. They did mix it up a bit today. DC, they've got Dominguez leading off, 3,700, super cheap. This is, I believe, it's got to be the healthiest the Yankees lineup has been the entire season. Now that they've got Stanton back, they got Jazz back. Like the top 7, Anthony Volpe's hitting 8th in this lineup. It's just such a strong lineup when everyone's healthy here. Just have to love it in the matchup against Hendricks and a pretty bad bullpen behind him. So, while I think that now that they're healthy, there is going to be some shenanigans, right? Because they've got 5 outfielders now. Like Grisham
and Rice can't even get in the lineup.
Yeah. So, Rice and Grisham are both sitting here. So, I think that we might see some pinch hit shenanigans moving forward, but too early to tell, and that's not really something that I'm overly concerned about in such a great spot here for the Yankees bats at home. I guess the only knock, DC, that I could say against the Yankees is, it's 80 plus degrees in a bunch of spots, and it's only in the 60s here in New York. So it's not like it's the elite hitting weather that we do have elsewhere, but it's kind of balanced out by the matchup with Kyle Hendricks and his Angels bullpen. So
and also balanced out too by just the types of, not all home run hitters are created equal. Like if Judge or Stanton tattoos one, I know of yesterday actually Judge kind of got robbed by the dead baseballs, but in general, these guys, when they get one, it's going to go, 70 degrees, 80 degrees.
Yeah.
So you got to be in on these Yankees. There's no strikeouts from Hendricks, right? So all this power, you're going to get contact, and you just take your chances.
Especially a guy like Stanton who struggles with, the guys who have the swing and miss stuff, I think. At 4K cleanup in this lineup is just far too cheap for his upside.
Hendricks doesn't really have not only does he throw soft, but he can't really spin the ball either. So I just don't know if he can, get those guys to chase. And if not, look out. We could see some rockets from this Yankees off of Hendricks. Yep. Let's keep it moving. D-backs and Toronto Blue Jays. This one in Toronto. Chris Bassett going for the Blue Jays. Brandon Pfaadt for the D-backs. Kind of an interesting pitching matchup here, Steve, in that they both have almost the exact same strengths and weaknesses. Both these pitchers very effective against right-handed hitters. Falls off in a big way against lefties, which has me a little bit interested in this D-back stack as a contrarian option for lefties to lead off against Chris Bassett. If you look at the last couple of years, we're talking a 370 xWOBA allowed over 120 innings. Lefties, they tee off against Bassett. A lot of home runs, and these D-backs are good ones. So I think they're going overlooked. One of maybe my favorite, somewhat contrarian stack. And then Pfaadt versus the Blue Jays. I'm not really playing either side of this one outside of Addison Barger, who I think is a really, really strong one-off, trying to pick off a home run against Brandon Pfaadt. So, hitting in this one for me. I'm not playing either of these pitchers. What are you doing here, Steve, with D-backs and Blue Jays?
Yeah, not on either pitcher here. Both have – at least Pfaadt has struggled a lot lately. Just not taking that next step as a pitcher because, like you said, he can't get lefties out.
Yeah.
It's just going to be really tough. The Snakes, arguably the best lineup in baseball against right-handed pitching anyways. A lot of it is because of those top 4 are so strong against righties. And then hitting in the 5th hole is Gino Suarez, who has all the power in the world. So, I'm in on D-backs here. They're expensive, which is why I think they're going to go a bit overlooked. You got Carroll at 6K, Ketel Marte at 5.7. But we do like some cheaper pitchers. I know we've already talked about Warren. I think there are others that we can talk about as well that aren't as strong but are still in play. So, they're expensive, but it's a high upside spot here against Bassett, I think. I'm kind of in on both sides here. Less in on Toronto just because, they just don't have the impact bats that Arizona has. But the bullpen for the Snakes has just been so terrible. I believe they've got the worst bullpen estimators in baseball over the last month. So, if it goes bad for Fott here, it could go real bad. So kind of tepid on Toronto just because they're not a team on a 12-game slate that I really want to lean into. But it is a good spot, especially for the left-handed bats here. I agree, though. Barger's the best play on the Toronto side. You get third base and outfield eligibility, too.
Yeah, I really like Barger, but I don't know if I'm going to go too much farther with Toronto myself. Just one more thing about the D-backs. They like to run, too. Like, they'll have games where they do a lot of, like, the double steal stuff. So if you are getting that top four, you can run on Bassett. He's allowed 9 steals on the year. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, like, even Naylor has, like, 8 or 9 steals. Perdomo's got, like, 15. Marte, Carroll, they can obviously run. So I do think just a really, really sneaky good spot for the D-backs, hoping they come through at some low ownership tonight. Minnesota and the Cincinnati Reds are up next. This one in Great American Ballpark. Potential weather here. There are storms in the area. I did look at the radar right before we jumped on, and I do think this game is going to play. Potentially a small delay somewhere in there, but overall, I'm playing it just as normal at the moment. Obviously, an hour and a half here before lock. Andrew Abbott going for Cincinnati. David Festa for the Twins. I like Festa as a pitcher, but man, I just worry how long they're going to let him go. He did go 6 innings last time, but Twins bullpen is rested. They need to win games, and we know Rocco Baldelli can pull the plug on these guys real early. So That's my concern with Festa. I do think he'll be good on a per inning basis, but it's really hard to play him over Will Warren for me.
Especially in this park.
What's that?
Especially in this park, too.
Yeah, exactly. So I did end up cutting Festa, but
I did too.
I do think he could pitch well. And then Andrew Abbott has been lights out. Shut down the Cubs, Cleveland, Milwaukee. I mean, it's been a good run for Andrew Abbott. I know neither of us are really a huge believer in what he's doing. There's no way I'm playing him at 10K. Mm-hmm. You kind of like these Twins bats at the top of the lineup, though. The right-handed power, Buxton, Jeffers, Castro, Correa, and your boy Ty France swinging from the right side against the lefty Abbott, who is still giving up a lot of hard contact to right-handed hitters. Could see the Twins doing some damage here with the long ball. What about you, Steve? What do you see? Minnesota, Cincinnati.
It blows my mind that Andrew Abbott has a 1.87 ERA. If you ever watch this guy pitch, every single fly ball just goes to the track and dies. He's going to have starts this season where he just gets absolutely shelled.
Twins got the power to do it if they can square some up here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with one-offs and mini stacks of the Twins because you're hunting the power, right? Abbott hasn't really shown that he's going to get completely blown up or allow like huge innings, but I think I'm going to be like you said, hunting the power here, maybe the top 4, possibly top 5. So it's kind of where I'm at there. I'm not on Festa in this park. The Reds have actually been swinging it decently of late, and like we've already seen with Festa, he had one start on the road. It was at Sacramento, I believe, where he just got absolutely nuked, gave up a bunch of home runs. So like the one start that he's had in not favorable conditions just went really poorly. So I could see with the Reds here, but like you mentioned, like the Twins bullpen's really good if this game is close. So I'm not really sure what to do with the Reds. The team total's good. I just don't think that if things are going bad for Festa that they're going to let him just die out there. So I get the upside for the Reds. I'm just not exactly sure if I want to go there. I do like the lineup here now that they've got Fraley help. Man, I was looking this morning. Matt McClain has the lowest win shares added in all of baseball. He's had I would not have guessed that going into the season after the year he had last year. Just hasn't put anything together. So yeah, I'm kind of not really sure what to do with the Reds here. I like the team total. I think it could go bad for Festa. I'm just scared of the pen, and I like other spots better overall.
Since Andrew Abbott's mother, Landa 501, is here defending him in chat, I will say the number I'm looking at with this Twins is Abbott's career numbers when he's in this ballpark against right-handed bats. And in that situation, 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. So he's certainly served up his fair share of bombs to right-handed hitters in that park. We'll keep it moving. The Atlanta Braves and New York Mets. Fun series here, certainly, and fun matchup. David Peterson, who's been awesome for the Mets really all season long.
Yep.
Kind of thought he would come back to earth, but hasn't really happened yet. He's been genuinely awesome. Obviously, a difficult matchup here for Peterson. Acuna. His return to the lineup has made a big difference. He's looked awesome since returning, hitting for all the power. And then Spencer Schwellenbach, a guy we've been on really this kind of whole run that he's had. He's been awesome. And, man, I keep talking about him every show, but he looks like he's getting better and better, getting stronger, throwing harder. The stuff is grading out better. And, most pitchers kind of go the other way as the season progresses. So to see Schwellenbach kind of ramping up, it's been impressive. He's been absolutely lights out in 2 of the last 3. Did throw 105 pitches in that complete game against Milwaukee, but, he's usually up 90 to 100, so I'm not really worried about that, especially pitching on, I believe, 5 or 6 days rest here, not on the normal 4. So I think he should be good. This is a tough one, Steve, because the matchup is not easy against the Mets, right? It's a good team, but I still think Schwellenbach is undervalued by the market, by the DFS playing public. So I got to be in on some Schwelly at what will be pretty reduced ownership. But the truth is, projections-wise, he does not grade out as a good point per dollar play, just going by the strict numbers. But I kind of disagree with him. So I'm going to play some Schwellenbach. What say you, Mets and Braves here?
Yeah, I do too. I took his strikeout prop over 5.5 plus 120 this morning. If you disagree with the projection, I think you have to bet his strikeout prop over here.
Yep.
Because that's the main driver of that. So go ahead and add that if you like Schwellenbach here. I do. I think he's the best tournament pitcher on the entire slate. Everyone's going to play probably one of Ray or Wu. He's right in the middle of those 2. He's got just as much upside, if not more. Well, definitely more than Brian Wu with Wu's reduced strikeout rate. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. Kind of quietly. He's got 6+ innings and 7 straight starts, lowest xFIP on the slate at 2.92. Mets are a pretty intimidating matchup, but I think he's good enough to beat this matchup, and I'm definitely going to be over the 12% projected. I don't like a ton of pitchers up, above 8K here, so I think he's a really nice pivot, especially if you're playing a bunch of lineups, right? You get some Schwellenbach here. He's got clear paths to beat Ray and Wu, I think, in this spot. So he's my favorite play in this game, kind of by far. I'm not on Peterson here at that price, but I don't really want to use a bunch of Braves bats against him and the Mets bullpen, which is also pretty rested. So I think it's, you play Acuna as a one-off, but I don't really have much bats-wise in this one.
Yeah, I think Acuna, Riley, Albies are all decent one-offs, but I'm with you. I don't want to stack the Braves, not going crazy with it, mostly just hunting those home runs. But I do think those guys do have a pretty good shot at doing some damage. We do got to pay attention to the weather here. This is, I think, I should have mentioned that when I introduced the game, but I do think this is the riskiest spot. It does look like it's going to rain pretty heavily in Atlanta sometime in the next couple hours. I think this game most likely starts in delay, and then they got to wait an hour or whatever, and then they play just fine. But it is going to be one, especially if you're on Schwellenbach, that, you might have to take the leap of faith. The truth is, though, we'll get them even lower owned if this game does end up starting to delay, because everybody will jump off the Schwellenbach train. So we'll be in the Discord, obviously, looking at that.
Yeah.
Could be a kind of a last minute call though with the weather. You never know for sure. So something to pay attention to there. But yeah, weather permitting, very much in on Spencer Schwannbach, expecting a big outing out of him as usual. Baltimore and the Tampa Bay Rays up next. The Rays, I thought they were going to get me home yesterday. I was all over those guys. The lefties, Josh Lowe, Brandon Lau, Aranda, all did a lot of damage, and they're in like the exact same spot tonight in
Better
Tampa.
spot, I think. Yeah.
Hot, humid, but a little bit better, right? Going from Eflin to Dean Kramer, who's a worse pitcher, but kind of similar in style to Eflin, just a right-hander who is going to give up a lot of home runs, a lot of left-handed power, and this is the perfect park and lineup to do it. So I see no reason not to be back on the Rays here. I think they're too cheap, especially over on FanDuel for people playing over there. And then Zach Littell going against the Orioles. I don't expect him to do what Pepio did yesterday. It was a wild start. I did not expect that.
Pepio has been great over the last month, man.
Yeah.
His stuff just jumps off the screen.
I overlooked him for sure. I do kind of like the Orioles lefties again here. Henderson, O'Hearn, Holiday all look like pretty decent plays to me in this park. They just got to be given how this park gives up power to right field. Steve, what are you doing here? Rays and Orioles.
Yeah, I talked on Friday with Stats how they don't like the O's more moving forward just because they got two of their better hitters back at the same time, Westberg and Kowser. So, with those guys healthy, this lineup is just so much deeper. You don't have to screw around with all the pinch hit risks that they had with those two guys out. So I like both sides here. Like you said, the weather's good, park's good. I do prefer the Rays side, though. I think Kramer's got more blow-up risk in him. I don't really trust the Baltimore bullpen fully. Yesterday was pretty frustrating because I had the Nats guys that went off. I had the top of the order Nats, Wood, Abrams, I was trying to decide between Tampa and Houston. And of course I went with the Houston side over the Lows. So
once Spence was in, that was an easy choice to go with Tampa.
Yeah. Well, I was when they changed the pitcher, like as I was on the runway leaving the basket. I was like, fuck, get him out. But no, gotta like the spot even more than last night. And yeah, like with the spots that are going to get huge ownership, like, we'll talk about Houston, I think comes in highest owned here. I'm not really like, that's just going to make all these spots that I think would arguably the best spot on the slate on different slates pretty low owned. Like I could see slates where this Tampa spot is super owned here in this heat against Kramer. The price tags are reasonable across the board. I lean the lefties here. I actually really like the 3-man of, 1, 2, 4, I think is super nice here. So yeah, I do lean the Rays side. I like the O's more now that they have Westbrook and Kowser back. So yeah, it's all bats here, no pitching for me. And yeah, Brady makes a good point. Like when Littell gets hit, it's bombs. He has given up a lot of power this season.
And yeah, like we keep talking about right field, the place to go. The Orioles have 4 lefties and 5 of the top 6 leading off from the left side. So you could absolutely see bombs for both these teams. All offense for both of us. Yes. Actually, yeah, Mangum is a decent play down there too. I do have some exposure to our guy, Travis Mangone. St. Louis and the White Sox up next. Both teams playing in Chicago. This is another tricky weather game. So hot and humid where you are right now, Steve, in Chicago. But rain coming, and this could be, I think, one of the first games where we maybe see a significant weather shift and wind shift perhaps as well, right at game time or perhaps during the game. Right now, it looks like tremendous hitting weather in Chicago, but it might not be when these games actually play. So I think the best thing to do here and for the Cubs game is just watch the total, right? When they take it off the board, it comes back, it's higher. You kind of know what the weather is doing. I think that's the easiest way to monitor what to do with these games, but potentially a extremely good hitting spot conditions here for Cardinals and White Sox. Matthew Liberatore and Shane Smith throwing. Talk to us, Steve. Cardinals and White Sox.
Yeah, pretty rare that both teams are in town at the same time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is super hot and humid. It's going to be like this all week. So this is going to be a theme that we're going to be talking about basically every slate this week in Chicago. Talking as if the games play. I think that the Cardinals team total here is too high. It's up over 5. I don't know. On this slate where we've already talked about 5 or 6 offenses that we really, really like. I'll probably be selling the Cardinals a bit. Really, really cold team over the last month. Bottom 3 in both weighted runs created plus and ISO. Shane Smith has been really good. I mean, pitching above his head, but on a slate where there's clear spots that I want to attack, I'm not sure I want much Cardinals here. I think they do work better as secondary stacks with the price tags. Like the entire lineup, because they've been so shit, is cheap outside of Ivan Herrera. So I'll be under on Cardinals bats, probably only playing them in secondary stacks. If the weather turns and it becomes more pitcher friendly, it's a good bounce back spot for Liberatore here, who's had a really rough last couple starts. But man, look at who he's faced over the last month. DC, Philly, Kansas City, who doesn't strike out, Arizona, Kansas City again, Toronto doesn't strike out, and now he gets the White Sox with the highest strikeout rate in baseball against left-handed pitching. I think he is better than what he's shown over the last couple of starts.
Yeah.
And this is just a soft landing spot for him. His price tag has come down. He's going to be super low owned. If it ends up that this game looks good to play weather-wise, I'm definitely playing some of him, just an arm that I want to continue to buy moving forward in a higher than normal strikeout upside spot for him.
Yeah, he was one, I talked when we introduced the show, it's kind of hard to get to everything on a 12-game slate. And he was one I just kind of wrote off initially just because there's a lot of pitchers that I like, but everything you said makes sense. I'm a fan of his in general and super low ownership, right? I mean, I didn't even consider him. I guess, Sabres got him at 12%. So I guess that seems a little bit fair. I thought he'd be even lower than that. But I'm with you on the bats in this game. Just I get, could be a very ideal conditions, but I just don't feel like picking on Shane Smith is the best idea, given some of the other options on this slate. So I'm with you. We'll be lower on the bats with St. Louis and the White Sox there. Let's go to the other side of Chicago for Cubs and Brewers. Again, obviously, not necessarily the same weather at each of the stadiums, but the same scenario to monitor. Ballpark Pell did have the Cubs game plan neutral-ish, and they have moved it up throughout the day. So the forecast from them, which is kind of the one I guess trust the most this far out, does look pretty good and potentially improving more. And it matters a ton. I mean, if we have neutral conditions, I kind of like Ben Brown, an unowned Ben Brown at 7,400. I guess, maybe people are on him too, but I do like him. Big talent, pretty good matchup here against Milwaukee. Just I don't really want to play him if we got winds blowing out. And then Chad Patrick going for Milwaukee, who's been pretty dang steady and good this season, kind of unexpectedly. So my interest in the Cubs kind of depends on how good the hitting conditions are. I'm still willing to play them if we got winds blowing out. I'm not going to pass it up against Chad Patrick, but I don't love the Cubs bats at their prices if it's just a neutral weather game. Then of course we got to watch the rain if those games are even going to play. So just a lot going on here, Steve. But back-to-back Chicago games. Talk to us about Cubs and Brewers here. Yeah,
really interesting slate on a bunch of different fronts. When we opened the show, we didn't even talk about the weather impacting a bunch of these games. One of the most weather-sensitive slates we've had all season, I think.
Yeah.
As of right now, so I checked this total when we opened the show. Since we've been talking for half hour, This game has gone from 9 to 9.5. Winds are shifting. They were going to be blowing from left to right. Now it's looking more like blowing straight out to center, at least for now. That changed on Ballpark Pal as well. There's a really cool app too called Wrigley Winds that is awesome. It updates live. It just has like the weather. That's the only thing that the app does is the winds in Wrigley. It's pretty cool.
You're a bad friend for not telling me about this wonderful app prior.
I just found it a couple weeks ago. But yeah, make sure you download your Wrigley Winds app, especially now that it's mid-June going into the summer. If this holds,
is there someone just like is there someone like right next to the stadium, or how does?
There's a guy with like a flag measuring everything. So let's say this holds. It says winds at 7, gusts up to 15, straight up the center. The most wind-sensitive park in baseball outside of maybe Sacramento now. This is. I mean, we're going to have better spots for the Cubs this weekend. But if this holds, it's one of the better spots of the season. I saw that it's only the third game above 70 degrees in the park the entire year. So, yeah, like these price tags are prohibitive across the board. We got 6,400 Tucker, 5,200 Seiya, 6,100 PCA, everyone else in the 4K range. So, if you want to take a chance and not play a Ray or a Wu or a Schwellenbach and double spend down, I could see the Cubs, especially if this holds, because like the risk here is storms because it is so humid. The ball is going to fly tonight. So low-owned Cubs, if this holds, I think are playable if you like the cheap pitching.
Yeah, I'm with you. Looking at the radar right now, I mean, you can see the rain that's going to threaten Chicago, but it's a long ways away. It's got to go across that.
It looks like if it comes, it's going to be later in the game.
Yeah, and then it looks like it would blow through eventually too. So I'm getting more interested in these Cub stacks, and no one's going to want to play them because there's weather question marks. We don't know what to do. There's plenty of places to go. They're expensive. Everybody wants to pay up for pitching, or most people do on this slate. So, yeah. What does Saber have on the Cubs in terms of ownership? Do you know? I'm looking it up now.
Everyone under 3%.
Yeah, got to be in on that. So
yeah. So this is also a thing where, like you had mentioned earlier, the total moves fast with Wrigley games. If you use a site like Unabated or anything that like aggregates stuff, you can watch it tick up, and that's what it's doing right now. So just keep an eye on that total for the next hour and a half.
I mean, there's a chance it goes to like 12. I think that as at least in play if the weather truly turns. So something we're gonna have to keep an eye on for sure. And maybe jump on some low-owned Cub stacks if weather cooperates. Royals and Rangers up next. This one in Texas. Seth Lugo, Jack Leiter going. This was one of the games I just didn't end up with much of anything. Not playing these pitchers, that's for sure. And I don't know. You could maybe try to talk me onto a Royal stack. Leiter, certainly a volatile pitcher, but I don't love it. Steve, what did you end up doing here with KC in Texas?
Yeah, I put Lugo in the playbook. Just doesn't seem to have the upside of the guys around him, though. The Rangers' bats have been pretty hot. He's just kind of been steady. So I think he's playable if you're playing a bunch of lineups, but probably one of the guys that's closer to the cut side than the must have in your pool. I'm kind of with you though. Like, even though I don't love Lugo, I'm not going to play the Texas bats against him. He just rarely gives up anything, a slate winning score. And then the Royals on the other side, just a piss poor offense. They have been for a long time, dead last in ISO against righties over last month, but they don't strike out. So like the Royals suck for DFS because you can't play pitchers against them and you never want to really play them either. So this is kind of our first cross off kind of game.
Yeah. The top of the Royals lineup I think looks okay. You can run on Leiter. So they do got a little bit of speed. Those top three, Pasquantino can hit, obviously. So maybe you could do it. Wouldn't be shocked. Leiter, I do think, is way more blow-up prone than typical pitcher of his talent level. So a little bit of interest in the Royals. I assume they'll be very low owned as well, more of a contrarian stack option. Excuse me. Brings us out to the West Coast for Seattle and Boston. Gilbert looked pretty good, I thought, in his return yesterday. Gave up a couple of runs, but the strikeouts were there. Now it's Brian Woo's turn to take on this Rafael Devers-less Red Sox team. And I mean, Woo is just fantastically efficient, just pounds the strike zone, takes advantage of that park. He says if you get up a home run or two, so be it. I'm not walking anybody. I'm going to throw strikes. I'm going to work 6 or 7 innings pretty much every time out. And you never know, it's baseball, but I don't see any reason to expect anything different than 6 or 7 strong innings from Woo, probably 7 or 8 strikeouts, 0, 1, or 2 earned runs. Just feels like the least volatile spot on the slate. Maybe not quite the upside of a Robbie Ray. We'll get there, but I do think Woo is a very, very safe bet to put up 15, 20-plus fantasy points. And then Walker Buehler on the other side. I mean, it's a good matchup for him too, but I struggle to click on Walker Buehler. He is coming off a strong start against the Rays. Steve, where'd you end up on Woo, Buehler, and Red Sox Mariners?
Yeah, we've got, we talked about the heat on the East Coast and the potential for storms. And now we get to the good pitching environments. We've been talking about bats almost the entire slate. I'm on both guys here. Woo, like you said, just a super clean matchup. Boston. I'm not sure how much you talked about it yesterday because I didn't get to show. Trading Rafael Devers to the Giants, just, might have talked about that on a show where there's less than 12 games.
I think it was a salary dump. The Red Sox owners are
just a wild situation. They trade Betts and Devers in the last couple of years. Yeah. That's for a different show.
Yes.
I agree that Woo just seems like the cleanest spot of the whole slate. You had said, 6 or 7 innings almost every time. It's been every time. All 13 starts, 6+ innings for Woo. He's coming off a string of low upside, tough matchups, which I was kind of hoping would have him come in a bit less owned here, just because if you're a box score guy like Big T, you'd be like, oh, this guy hasn't done anything in weeks. But check this out: at Arizona, Orioles, at Houston, who doesn't strike out, at San Diego, who doesn't strike out, Yankees, and then in Sacramento. So that's a really, really tough string of starts, but now gets this Devers-less Boston lineup in Seattle, third highest strikeout rate in the split last 30, highest strikeout rate in the split last 14 against right-handed pitching, gets to pitch in this park. Just an awesome spot for him. I expect a deep, pretty clean outing from him tonight. I was checking out the props. Our partners over at DK, if you have pick 6, they are hanging an odd number. So his strikeout prop is 6.5 at basically every book. Pick 6 has 5.5. So I like the over there for Woo. His strikeout rate has come down this season as he's pitching more to contact to try to work deeper, but this is just a great spot for him to put up a big strikeout game and have a clean outing. And then I think you can play some Buehler too. I think he's an interesting pivot to Will Warren. I think you could play him with Will Warren, in stuff like Cub stacks. He's really cheap for a pitcher pitching in Seattle, a team that strikes out a ton against righties, as we know. Buehler's got the 5.01 ERA, but all of his estimators are nearly a run below that. He's been pretty unlucky because of his home run to fly ball ratio of 19%. League average is 9 or 10%. So that is going to come down. He's got a batting average on balls in play north of 300 so far. It's just a good spot for some of that regression to kick in for him in Seattle, in arguably the best pitching environment of the slate besides maybe San Fran that we'll get to. So while he's, not a comfy play, probably not a main lineup play, I'm definitely going to have some Buehler here. Just you don't see 7K pitchers in Seattle too often. So on a slate where as I was getting closer to the show, DC, I was crossing off guys. He stayed in the pool here, so his projection is pretty fair at 7K, and it doesn't take much to be over on him. So I think you can play both pitchers here, and I don't want any bats.
I'm adding Walker Buehler to my pool as well. Kind of digging in while you were talking a little bit. He's just kind of a league average dude, but 7K pitcher, a league average 7K pitcher in Seattle is a good play. I'm in on Walker Buehler. It makes a lot of sense. I'm going to add him, and I think I'm going to cut Ben Brown, who I really like, but just maybe not the spot to use him tonight. Let's go to Cleveland and San Francisco. Robbie Ray going for the Giants here. Had a little bit of a hiccup last time out in Colorado, but I don't know. Pretty much giving him a pass for that one.
Yep.
Before that, 6 or 7 innings, every single time out, much like Brian Wu. We've really got 3 of the 6+ every time out guys, Ray, Wu, and then Schwellenbach also consistently goes deep into games. So on FanDuel, they got that big tournament tonight. Those guys that can go 6+ innings for the quality start bonus are pretty nice. Huge. Ray certainly at the top of the list. I think kind of easy pickings for Robbie Ray here against this Guardians lineup that just doesn't have a ton of power. Plenty of strikeouts, especially in the back half of it, and we know what to expect from Robbie Ray. So expecting a good outing. I think he'll go a little bit lower owned just because the price tag is high. I think more people playing Wu and Warren, but I really like Robbie Ray for any cheap stacks that people are playing out there. And then on the other side, Slade, Ciccone going for the Guardians, who I actually like a little bit, but in my opinion, not the slate to use Ciccone here against the Giants. So mostly Ray in this one for me. Steve, what about you? What are you doing? Guardians and Giants.
Yeah, I was surprised that Ray's projection isn't higher here. We've talked about a bunch of really good hitting situations, besides the Seattle game we just talked about. It's going to be in the low 50s here in San Francisco. Just by far the best pitching conditions on the slate, where it's 75, 80 plus in a lot of the other outdoor spots. Coming off the Coors Field game, not really concerned about that. I mean, Robbie Ray's is going to have outings like that, which is what makes him a fun tournament play, is because he's going to spike the 30+ games, and he's going to have games where he walks 4 or 5 guys. It's just the type of pitcher that he is. Not the same type of pitcher, but he's like Framber Valdez in that it's more about him than the opponent a lot of times, which we saw with the Rockies game last time out. He's been awesome at home this year. 47 Ks and 45 innings, and even 2 ERA. You and I have talked, I think, a couple times how bad this Cleveland team has been against left-handed pitching. They profile decently against righties, but really, really poor against lefties. 8th highest strikeout rate, dead last in ISO the last month against lefties, which is where Robbie Ray gets in trouble, is walks and power. So just an elite bounce back spot for him. I think he's got much more upside than Brian. If things break their way for each of Ray and Wu, I just think Ray's got the you need to have it score in his bag on this slate. So yeah, I'm going to be well over the projected 20% ownership here. I think getting over that is pretty easy on this slate to do. I think Ciccone is playable here. I wish he was a bit cheaper. You're just kind of playing the park and the weather here on a slate where there's a bunch of good pitching or hitting weather. This is a great spot for arms, just kind of in general. His estimators are good, 3.1 xFIP. For comparison purposes, it's better than Andrew Abbott, who's 10K. He's just going to be more volatile because of his pitching style, right? He's a high strikeout, high fly ball guy. So him going to San Fran, kind of perfect for his pitching style as a guy who relies on fly balls. So I don't know, kind of a gut call here for me, throwing him in the pool. I think I'm going to So before the show, I added him in over Lugo just because I think the upside is there for a good start with the way that he pitches with the strikeouts and the fly balls out in San Francisco. Not, mega confident in it, but on this slate where, if you're playing 20 like I do, instead of just like locking a guy like Warren, it'll pull, some Bueller, some Ciccone instead.
Yeah, I mean, Ciccone kind of convinced me a little bit on him. I mean, yeah, 2% own compared to the 40% own Will Warren makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he's talented. It's just the fly balls can get him, but this park is just perfect for the way that he pitches, I think.
I talked before, I think the Detroit start a month ago now, but he actually looks pretty good. I'm with you. I think he's a little bit underrated. So, yeah, I might get some Ciccone in my life as well. Let's go to Houston and the A's. Me and Big T talked yesterday. I wanted to play all those Astros against JP Sears in Sacramento. Couldn't do it yesterday, but we get the chance to do it tonight, Steve. And, yeah, these Astros bats, I think they're going to be popular. They will be popular, but I think they profile so well against JP Sears. Just, no guarantees, but really couldn't profile much better than they do all the right-handed power against Sears, who gives up a lot of home runs to right-handers in this park, hot, humid, wind blowing out, all that stuff. In on the Astros. I assume you are, at least to some extent, as well. And then Jason Alexander throwing for the Astros. Probably just a couple innings from him, I think. A's let me down last night with the Rays, but maybe they come through here against Alexander and Houston. What are you doing, Steve? Big choice or big decision, kind of what to do with the Astros tonight. A's and Astros. What do you got?
Yeah, this game busted.
The great mountains.
Is that you?
Yeah, Fangraphs was giving me an ad.
You got to pay for the membership, man. You can't be dealing with those Fangraphs ads.
It must have expired because I at least used to pay for it. I was just going to pull up Alexander's game logs in the minors. I mean, he's a career minor league journeyman. He's, I believe, 32 years old. He's gotten crushed every time he's been pulled up to the major leagues. I mean, this park has not busted too often, and it did last night. I'm going right back to it here on both sides. We talked earlier how I wasn't able to pivot from Houston once they switched the pitchers last night. Hopefully that's not the case tonight. Sears has given up the most home runs for a left-handed pitcher in all of baseball last 2 years. The issue for this DC is on a 12-game slate, you're playing into what I think is going to be 25 to 40% ownership for these Houston bats. So that's kind of the only decision point is like, how much Houston do you play? It's such a perfect spot. We talked about a lot of warm games. This is the hottest game so far. I think at game time it's going to be 91, 92 degrees, double-digit winds blowing out to center field. I just have a hard time seeing this game truly bust. The A's, bottom three bullpen in baseball over the last month, highest team total on the entire slate, I believe 0.1 higher than the Yankees. They just fit so well with these price tags, right? Like you can play kind of whoever you want. And Sabre even has Cooper Hummel in the projected lineup tonight. He's 2K flat. So I think what I'll probably end up doing is not playing a 5-man on my main, like in the 121, just because of the ownership on a slate where I like a lot of spots. But, man, they're just going to fit lineups so well at these price tags. Christian Walker's done just absolutely nothing all season, but one of the best spots of the entire season for him. So no issues with Houston. I'll have plenty. The A's kind of sneaky 5.3 team total here, I believe is – let me double check. Yeah, it's the third highest on the entire slate. So this total has jumped up throughout the day. Like the price tags pretty much across the board here. I think this is a good game stack spot too. We've seen these games just pretty continuously nuke. despite it not doing much last night. So I'm back in on both sides. I kind of like the A side more at the respective ownerships, but just impossible to argue that the Houston Bats are not great plays against JP Sears here.
Yeah, 100% with you. And on both these offenses, specifically the Astros side, kind of hard to get away from, in my opinion. I don't think you have to full stack them, though, because you are really hunting home runs with this team. So grab one or two, and that's fine if you don't want to get to the full chalky Astros stack. Let's talk about the last game, Steve. San Diego and the Dodgers. Bullpen game for the Dodgers, who looks like they'll open with Dreyer. It'll be Sauer for a few innings after that. No pitchers in play in this game at all. I assume you're not going to Mr. Vasquez against the Dodgers, but you do got to like the lefties here, at least for the Dodgers. I mean, Vasquez has some wild numbers against lefties, Ohtani, Freeman. I mean, these guys, they're going to be swinging for the downs here. So love the Dodgers, of course, against Vasquez, who I know has burned you a few times stacking against him. But what are you doing, Steve, with Dodgers and Padres here?
Yeah, I think arguably the best spot on the entire slate, Dodgers Bats against Randy Vasquez. I feel like talking about it nonstop, how lucky Randy Vasquez has been, the luckiest pitcher in all of baseball so far. He's got a 3.5 ERA, but a 5.91 expected ERA, 5.6 xFIP. Both are worst on this massive slate where we talked about some bad pitching. He's got a 13% strikeout rate and a 12% walk rate. This is one of the best offenses in baseball, top 3 at worst. Impact power left-handed bats throughout the lineup. I'm going to aggressively stack against Randy Vasquez every start that he makes the rest of the season. At LA seems like the worst possible spot for him. He has danced his way around similar spots like this season, including against the Dodgers earlier this year. But man, I can't miss it when Randy Vasquez just gets absolutely shit on, because it's going to happen. And I think it could happen tonight. They're going to be low owned because of the price tags. This is why it was kind of tough for me to get to the Cubs at their tags, is because I kind of want to play the Dodgers if I'm going all the way up to spend on bats against Randy Vasquez. I'm not missing the Randy Vasquez 1 2/3 9 earned run game, because it is coming. Binaire, fuck you. But yeah, I mean, there isn't really much more to say. It's just I'm going to keep stacking against him. This is a great spot. Yeah, they're expensive, but they could be worth it. And they're just kind of low owned for how great of a spot it is, just because of how cheap the Astros are.
This is funny. So this year against lefties only, Vasquez, an 11% strikeout rate, 15% walk rate. So way more walks than strikeouts, 2.05 home runs per 9. So getting absolutely shelled by lefties. A 7.34 FIP. And of course, Steve, 91% left on base versus lefties for Vasquez. Despite all those, like the worst numbers you've ever heard of against lefties, he's still stranding them somehow when lefties come to the plate. Makes absolutely no sense. And it's coming at some point for Vasquez. We'll see if it's tonight, but
he's the master of the walk, double play, and then you just send the remote across the room.
He's responsible for many Boynton broken TVs already, and maybe another one tonight. That's all 12 games. We can go back over weather quickly here. I suppose we got time for the Dong draft. Did we get any last time, Steve? Any home runs for us?
We did not. I think we went too cheap last time, because we
got to pick some better players.
Because I have Austin Slater on my draft.
Yeah, we got a little too cute last time out. Let's pick some good home runs on this slate. I'll go first. Nick Kurtz, big night for me last night with the walk-off dong, 2,800 against Alexander. Hard to argue with that one. You're up, Steve.
I'll pick one guy that probably won't be in my main lineup, but is probably going to hit a bomb. And he's 3,400, so I get the 1.5x. Christian Walker. Probably the second highest owned player on the entire slate. behind
Yeah,
it.
he's a good one. Give me how much is too much? Oh, it's the worst when they're 100 over what you wanted. I'll go to I think a lower owned guy, Corbin Carroll against Bassett.
Corbin Carroll. I'm going to go out to LA. We're going to get some lefties against Randy Vasquez. I'll go with Max Muncy.
Yeah, it's a good call. Need a twin in my life. Give me Willie Castro, 3,400 for a little 1.5er there.
Willie Castro. I'm just going to take another Dodgers lefty. I'm going to go Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Good spot for those Dodgers lefties, clearly. Weather update, Chicago. I mean, I do think this game's definitely going to start on time. We'll see, but looks relatively safe to me right now. Cincinnati.
For Chicago, I think the danger is if we get like a pop-up storm before that late line of weather, like if they have to delay it and then that rain comes in later, I think is the main risk, but I think it's going to be fine.
And then Atlanta, at this point, I would be surprised if they don't start in a rain delay. I do think there's a good chance that they will play this game afterwards. So, just going to have to monitor that over the next hour. We'll, of course, be in the Discord doing so. Pitchers, Steve. We got to do pitchers still. Your preferred combination tonight. I think a lot of good ones to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, the three highest owned guys are there for a reason. Wu and Warren will be most popular for great reason. Talked about a couple of pivots, Schwellenbach and Walker Buehler and Slade Ciccone are going to be my pivots here.
I'm joining you on the Ciccone and Buehler train, but yeah, it's a big four for me. Warren, Ray, Schwellenbach, Wu, and then I do think there's a case to be made that you made for Ciccone and who's the other one that you mentioned?
Buehler.
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think a lot of ways you can go at pitching and hitting as well. Stacks, Steve, your top two for the slate.
I think it's the Dodgers and the Yankees for me. I think the Astros will come in higher owned than projected just because of the price tags. So I'll go with the expensive stacks, the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Like both of those, of course. I'll go with the Rays, running it back. Those lefties that did it yesterday, I think could do it again here. And give me the D-backs, specifically that top 5 for lefties, followed by Suarez against Chris Bassett, I think, in a sneaky good spot at low ownership. All right, that'll do it for this show. It'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. I'll be on with stats for that one. Thanks for Boyden for showing up today for the show. And until tomorrow, he's Steve Boyden. I'm DC. We're out of here.